We often imagine the smartest person in the room as the one with all the answers. They are usually depicted as vocal, confident, and always ready to lead the conversation. However, psychology suggests that true high intelligence is frequently much quieter and harder to spot. Cognitive psychology calls this the Dunning-Kruger effect, where those with lower ability often overestimate their competence. Conversely, the most brilliant individuals tend to underestimate their own unique talents and mental depth. They might blend into the background, observing patterns while others are busy making noise. This means someone you consider average might actually possess a cognitive edge you haven't noticed. Their intelligence isn't hidden by choice, but by a different way of processing the world. By understanding these subtle markers, we can better identify the hidden geniuses in our lives. Today, we are exploring the 5 specific signs that someone is much smarter than they appear. 1. Highly intelligent people often possess a habit of strategic silence during complex discussions. While others rush to fill the air with immediate reactions, they tend to hang back. Psychology shows this is often a sign of high-level active listening and information processing. They are not just waiting for their turn to speak, they are deconstructing the arguments presented. Research suggests that this delay helps them avoid cognitive biases like the availability heuristic. By pausing, they allow their brains to move past the first, most obvious answer. In real-life settings, this can make them seem shy or even disengaged to the untrained eye. The consequence is that, when they finally do speak, their input is usually far more impactful. They prioritize the quality and accuracy of their words over the speed of their delivery. This calculated restraint is a hallmark of a mind that values truth over social validation. 2. A high level of situational awareness often indicates a mind that is processing data at a faster rate. Psychology shows that intelligent individuals are frequently hyperaware of their immediate environment and social cues. While most people focus on the primary conversation, they are noticing subtle shifts in body language. Cognitive psychology suggests this is due to superior pattern recognition, a core component of high IQ. They pick up on inconsistencies in stories or emotional reactions that others simply overlook. This isn't necessarily a conscious effort to spy, but a natural byproduct of a highly active brain. In a real-life consequence, this deep observation can lead to a sense of social exhaustion or burnout. They are processing a much higher volume of sensory and social information than the average person. As a result, they may seem distracted when they are actually more present than anyone else. This ability to see the invisible threads of a situation is a clear sign of hidden cognitive power. 3. A relentless drive to understand the why behind everything is a major indicator of hidden brilliance. Cognitive psychology calls this the need for cognition, or NFC. It describes individuals who derive genuine pleasure from effortful mental activity and complex problem-solving. While others accept the status quo, these people are biologically wired to challenge existing systems. Research suggests that, for high NFC individuals, learning is not a chore but a source of dopamine. They often ask follow-up questions that seem trivial to others, but are essential for their internal models. In daily life, this can lead them to pursue hobbies or topics that seem overly technical or obscure. The consequence is a vast, interconnected web of knowledge that allows them to solve problems faster. They don't just memorize facts, they integrate them into a deep understanding of the world's mechanics. This chronic curiosity ensures they are constantly evolving, even if they never boast about their progress. 4. A hallmark of high intelligence is the tendency to fall into deep, obsessive rabbit holes of information. Psychology shows that this behavior is driven by divergent thinking, the ability to generate creative ideas by exploring many possible solutions. They don't just learn about a topic, they deconstruct it until they understand its foundational principles. Cognitive psychology suggests this allows them to bridge the gap between seemingly unrelated fields. A person might study music theory one day and find its mathematical application in structural engineering the next. This cognitive flexibility allows them to find innovative solutions that others who specialize too narrowly might miss. In reality, this can make them appear unfocused or eccentric to those who prefer linear thinking. The consequence is a unique perspective that can solve systemic problems by drawing from a diverse mental library. They possess a mental toolbox that is much larger and more varied than the average person realizes. This ability to cross-pollinate ideas is a quiet but definitive sign of a high-functioning mind. 5. High adaptability in unpredictable situations is perhaps the most practical indicator of superior intelligence. Psychology shows this is driven by fluid intelligence, the ability to solve new problems without relying on prior knowledge. While most people rely on routines and established rules, highly intelligent individuals thrive in chaos. They possess high cognitive flexibility, allowing them to shift their perspective as new information emerges. Cognitive psychology suggests that this trait is essential for survival in rapidly changing environments. They don't panic when things go wrong. They immediately begin analyzing the new variables. In real-life scenarios, these people are often the ones who find a way forward when everyone else is stuck. They treat every obstacle as a data point rather than a personal failure or an emotional crisis. Their ability to reinvent themselves and their strategies is a hallmark of a powerful, fluid mind. This mental agility ensures they remain relevant and effective, no matter what challenges life throws their way. Another subtle trait of high intelligence is the willingness to admit when they don't have an answer. While many feel pressured to appear knowledgeable, the highly intelligent prioritize accuracy over ego. Psychology shows that this intellectual humility is a strong predictor of superior cognitive growth. Research suggests that being comfortable with uncertainty allows the brain to remain open to new data. Cognitive psychology calls this the ability to tolerate ambiguity, which prevents premature closure on complex issues. They understand that the world is nuanced and rarely fits into simple, binary categories. In social settings, their refusal to take a firm stance without evidence can be mistaken for indecisiveness. The real-life consequence is that they avoid making costly mistakes based on false confidence. They would rather be temporarily quiet than permanently wrong. This commitment to the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, marks a truly advanced mind. 4. A sharp, often dark sense of humor is a frequent byproduct of high cognitive ability. Psychology shows that appreciating complex jokes requires significant information processing and abstract thinking. Research suggests that people who enjoy dark comedy often score higher on both verbal and nonverbal intelligence tests. This is because humor often relies on detecting incongruities and resolving them in split seconds. Cognitive psychology calls this frame shifting, where the mind must quickly pivot between different mental contexts. They use wordplay and irony as a way to exercise their lateral thinking skills. In social interactions, this can sometimes make them seem cynical or out of touch with others. The consequence is a unique ability to find light or logic in the most grim situations. They use wit not just to entertain, but to navigate the complexities of human existence. Beyond external observation, highly intelligent people often possess a highly developed mental sandbox. Cognitive psychology calls this metacognition, or the ability to think about one's own thinking process. This involves a constant internal dialogue where they evaluate their own logic for flaws or biases. They don't just reach a conclusion, they simulate multiple scenarios to see how that conclusion holds up. Research suggests this internal simulation is why they can anticipate problems before they occur. They are essentially running a private diagnostic on their mental models in real time. In practice, this habit manifests as frequent self-correction during a conversation. They might pause to refine a statement, ensuring it perfectly matches their internal reasoning. The consequence is an incredibly robust sense of judgment that others can rely on. This depth of self-awareness is a definitive sign of a mind operating on a higher level. 5. A frequent preference for solitude over constant social stimulation is often a marker of high intelligence. Evolutionary psychology offers an explanation for this through the Savanna Theory of Happiness. Research suggests that while most people feel happier when socializing, highly intelligent individuals often feel less life satisfaction with frequent interaction. This occurs because their cognitive resources are heavily focused on long-term goals and abstract problem-solving. They find that excessive small talk or casual social obligations can feel like a distraction from deep work. For them, being alone is not a sign of loneliness, but a necessary environment for intellectual productivity. In a real-life consequence, they may be labeled as cold, antisocial, or elitist by those who don't understand. However, they are simply prioritizing the internal world that requires stillness to be fully explored. This preference for depth over breadth often comes with a distinct social cost. Psychology shows that highly intelligent individuals often struggle with traditional social synchronization. Research suggests this is partially explained by the threshold hypothesis. At a certain level of cognitive ability, the way a person processes social stimuli changes fundamentally. They may appear detached or awkward because they are overanalyzing the environment. Cognitive psychology calls this high stimulus sensitivity. While others enjoy the flow of a party, they are tracking every microexpression and conversational pivot. The real-life consequence is a feeling of being an outsider, even in a crowded room. They aren't trying to be difficult. Their brains are simply tuned to a different frequency. Recognizing this mismatch is key to understanding the quiet brilliance of the socially reserved. True intelligence is rarely about having all the answers or being the loudest person in the room. As we have seen, it often manifests in quiet observation and a deep, chronic curiosity. Psychology shows that high cognitive ability is defined by the depth of your processing, not just the speed. It is the courage to admit uncertainty and the flexibility to adapt when the world shifts. Those who seem detached may simply be navigating a much more complex internal landscape. When you stop looking for traditional markers of genius, you begin to see brilliance everywhere. It exists in the silent strategist, the niche researcher, and the humble observer. Remember, the most powerful minds are often the ones that feel no need to prove their power.